it's Jordan and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a non-spoiler review on the Reckoners trilogy by Brandon Sanderson, which includes Steelheart, Firefight, and Calamity. To start off this non-spoiler review, I'm going to give you a little bit of information on the series, and then we'll talk about the synopsis, and then I will go into what I liked and what I didn't like. This is a young adult dystopian. Is this considered dystopian? Or is it fantasy? I think it's dystopian. I know that dystopians aren't super popular anymore. A lot of people are shying away from them. However, I think this is a really great dystopian trilogy, and I really love it. I find it to be very different from other dystopian trilogies. First, let's talk about the synopsis. 10 years before the start of the novel, Calamity came. It is described as being a burst in the sky that imbued certain humans with these unworldly powers, and those humans were later known to be called epics. Nobody in this world really stands up to the epics except for this group of people called the Reckoners. Reckoners study and learn the epics' weaknesses so that they can go and assassinate them. And our main character, David, really wants to be a part of this group. Steelheart is the invincible, unkillable leader of the town New Chicago who killed David's father when he was younger. David wants revenge in the worst way. And David has something that this group really desperately need. And it's not a weapon, but an experience. He saw Steelheart bleed. And from there, the story really unfolds and transforms into this really epic revenge plot. So I first heard about the series from Reagan at Peru's Project, and she always described it as being a series where people are imbued with superpowers, but they're not using them for good or to help save the world. They're actually really destroying it, and they've become these horrific tyrants. Superhero powers, or people with superhero powers, is like a buzzword for me. I'm like all in. I am there, that I want to read it now. So that initially totally hooked me. I know that's a really common kind of overused story arc nowadays, but I feel like this one is done in such a different way because it's not people actually using the powers for good. They're not banding together underground to overthrow some horrific tyranny. They are the tyranny. They are the problem. It's really about humans trying to regain what is essentially humanity back from these people. Can we get these people who are now programmed because of their powers to be very destructive and to be very hateful? Can we give them back their humanity? It's approached in a completely new and different way. I haven't read anything like this in like the superhero power category subgenre of dystopian. It's also a super fast-paced, eventful, action-packed series. There's not really a dull moment. I really like how he transitions from book to book. The second book and the third book start off with an action scene. It's a great way to hook you into the story again, so you're not feeling like you're dragging to the first part of the next two books after some, resolution has to come about. I loved our main character, David, the narrator. He was so funny. He's a very socially awkward person. He's been living alone for a lot of his life. He doesn't have a lot of experience with people and with girls. It just amazes me how Brandon Sanderson can write a character that's so bad with words and Brandon Sanderson is so good with words. This series also has no love triangle. We have David and we have his love interest, and that's it. They have a really interesting journey throughout the series, just like them trying to find a place in the world where they can be together because there's some extenuating circumstances that make their relationship very difficult. Their romance isn't even like a forefront of the story. It's just there. It feels very natural. For this world, it's natural. I mean, for our world, it's not. It's just there, and that's how it is. Now, what I didn't like, although I really liked the world building, I felt like the world is really well developed, like I could see and picture it, and it was really coherent and things made sense. I didn't like the mythology of the epics. In Calamity, you really learn about the mythology and the origin of the epics, and I just felt like it was really lacking. I didn't think it was very well explored. It was very brushed over. It was something we'd been building up for in 2.5 books, and then when it was revealed, it was just really like anticlimactic and like lame. Like I just didn't like it. I also didn't like the fact that Calamity was the last book. I feel like it's a really incomplete, rushed last book. We really hear about Calamity for like 3 chapters at the end, maybe. So personally, I really like this book to be something different and then have a 4th book be Calamity. We spent way too much time on a different character in Calamity, and I felt like I had no real closure with the actual event of Calamity. It was just so rushed and breezed over when really that is like the epicenter of this world. That is the origin of all of this issues, and it was resolved in 50 pages. I also really didn't like the way that a certain character's powers were flushed out. The actual explanation for Firefight's powers was really vague and confusing. Characters have some doubts about the powers, and those doubts aren't ever resolved. It doesn't make sense. It's very vague and broad, and it seems like a very strange power in relation to many other powers. To be honest, I really enjoyed the first 2 books, and I enjoyed Calamity for David, and I enjoyed the action scenes. It was very well written. It's still really funny, but I just felt like it was like the pacing was just weird and it was off, and it didn't feel like Brandon Sanderson put as much time and effort and as much care into the 3rd book. It doesn't feel like a conclusion. I would have really preferred for this to just be a 3rd book with a 4th book coming. I would have even preferred to wait like another 6 months and have Brandon Sanderson really flesh out the story. It just felt like such a lesser caliber work than the other 2. It makes me sad because that's my last impression of the series. The first 2 books were so good. I don't want the last book of the series to turn people off from reading the whole series because it's a great series. So those are all of my thoughts for the Reckoner series by Brandon Sanderson. If you've read the whole series, I'd love to know what you think of it. I'd love to know if Calamity really brought down the series for you. So thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And until next time, I will talk to you very soon. Bye! I want to do this. I don't want to know. Or watching the voice downstairs. Someone singing Steele's song. Hard on, like, was it Hard on a Rose or something about a rose? You know that song, right? And the eyes, to start off this non-spoiler discussion, I'm going to give you a little bit of information. This is a young adult dystopian trilogy that follows the humans that they were into this gloriful, what is a un momento, por favor, it's the one semester of Spanish love songs. Anybody ever seen that video? Anybody? La 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 la.